I see what ho, chaps and chappets, Game Chap and Bertie here.
Yes.
Yes, indeed, fellows, and I dare say we are now taking a look here at a comparison of Nintendo's new shooting game SPLATOON up against the big boys of the more adult shooting games industry, being of course games like Call of Duty and Battlefield.
Aha, so this SPLATOON coming out soon.
Coming out very soon, in
By
fact.
Nintendo, and of course all about beating the other player in a sort of weaponry-laden world, as it were, but this time with paint.
In this case, of course, yes, the weapons are actually paint, as you can see here, fellows, and on the screen there with the gameplay. And in this particular instance, we are looking here at 4-on-4 turf war gameplay using one of the game's standard weapons.
Right.
Now, of course, the question firstly has to be asked, what gameplay modes are available in SPLATOON, and how does it compare to a normal shooter, where, for example, you have to take out the other players?
Most certainly. So you're playing here now. Are you shooting?
Yes.
Are you shooting the gun or rolling?
Of course, doing a bit of both. You'll
Bit
see
of
here
rolling and a bit of shooting.
the splatter shot in action here, of course, which is like the game's regular standard weapon, of course. It fires off rounds of paint there from the ink chamber on the back of the character, and of course can be used to splat your opponents as well as cover the ground in ink. Now your objective, look at that, I say, your objective here is in fact not to kill as many players as you can on the other team, but actually to cover as much of the ground on the stage with your team-coloured ink as you possibly can. I've just been splatted. Oh dear.
Right, okay, well my hand's up first of all saying, so comparison number one surely is rather than killing people,
yes,
as you're supposed to do in the other games like Call of Duty, Battlefield, etc.
Yes.
This one is you have to, claim their turf instead.
Exactly, you have to claim the turf in the arena, and as I said there, the team with the most turf wins the round at the end of the round. So therefore, of course, you can use different weapons there to claim the turf in different ways, and of course take out your foes also, and different weapons are suited well to different purposes. Now we're seeing here footage of the shooting game Battlefield 4. This is of course a more military focused and much more serious shooting game. In this particular instance we have here a support royal weapon, which is the MG4, but actually it's not too dissimilar to what we've just seen in terms of this being the Battlefield equivalent of that particular weapon.
Well, most certainly, of course, this is third person, is it not?
First person,
first person, I beg your pardon.
SPLATOON was third person, a good comparison there,
SPLATOON,
that's right.
of course, third person, yes indeed.
That's right,
That's the first thing you can, another thing you can see about.
Yes.
One's first, one's third.
I don't think you can actually play SPLATOON from the first person, so of course there's quite an interesting difference there, one which I neglected to see at first, but well observed there, Bertie.
So let's have a look, well thank you, just looking at this now. We've got some blood here appearing.
Yes.
It feels very much more serious.
That's right.
And you're not smiling now, you're serious, you're into it.
Your
the
teeth,
nitty-gritty.
The teeth are gritted, you're very much into this serious action. There's no happy music going in the background. You've got soldiers engaging in all-out warfare with different roles being fulfilled. So very much we see immediately here, also of course popping up there, the chat box on the screen. The game has chat, whereas SPLATOON doesn't have chat or indeed voice chat. So of course you're seeing here a much more adult focus for this game, whereas SPLATOON with its more kiddie-friendly appeal goes really for the all markets, all audiences sort of demographic there, I think.
I see. Yes, indeed. So you just mentioned the chat there, something that it doesn't have. Of course, with the Battlefield and the Call of Duty chat, you can chat to the people across the world and hear what they're saying when they say, oh dear, I seem to have been knocked out, what a jolly nuisance, and things like that, they say.
Yes, they make sort of nice comments about one's mother and things. That's
yes,
sort of thing
that's
that they
right.
do.
Yes,
but,
that's right.
Anyway,
I mustn't tell my mother this and all that sort
No,
of
I
thing.
mustn't tell my mother, that's
but
quite
you see, the thing is, over on the SPLATOON, of course, Nintendo have omitted that. Probably because they didn't obviously want people to be cussing and swearing and all that sort of thing and shouting at each other down the lines.
Right, exactly. And I think this was a point of some debate recently, the fact that Nintendo had taken out voice chat from SPLATOON. Some people saying, well, this is not so good, Nintendo being cheap and lazy. I personally think that's a good thing not to have voice chat in a sort of all-ages game like SPLATOON, because it will ultimately just get nasty with these things, because it's very, very competitive by nature, you'll see.
Most certainly. So SPLATOON, we're going to see a little bit more of that in a minute, I think, aren't we?
We are indeed, and of course, as you just said there, we have a very much more violent approach here from Battlefield, as you might expect being an adult shooting game. However, the core mechanics of the gameplay are really not that dissimilar, to be honest. You have to control the most turf on the battlefield, as it were, control the different control points. You can take out the enemy soldiers, but the overall objective is not to kill soldiers, but actually to hold the turf in the battlefield.
Right.
A bit like SPLATOON, really.
Well, most certainly. Now, do they have a point, as it were, in SPLATOON, like they do here?
Like control points.
You've got to claim your point here, haven't you?
Okay, no, they don't exactly have control points per se, although each team in SPLATOON does have their own spawn point, where of course you start at that spawn spawn point in, for example, the Walleye Warehouse, you can then jump from that spawn point, which you can see there now, to your team member's location using the super jump feature. So in some ways, that's a little bit like the feature of being able to spawn on your teammate in Battlefield 4 and comparable games. Now, we've just changed over here, and we're now using the paint roller, or I am, as you can see here, the paint roller is more like Splatoon's equivalent of the shotgun. It's a very, very, very dangerous weapon up close, but of course, you can't use it from a distance because you can't take them out from a distance. No, however, if you touch someone using this roller on the other team, it's an instant kill. Straight away.
Well, hang on, we just said we didn't kill people on here, but now we do.
It's an instant splat, I suppose.
An instant splat. So
let's see if we can get this chat shot. There you go, you'll see.
Good. So he's gone back to his to the spawn point, I suppose.
The spawn point, that's right, on his team's side, and of course he can use a super jump to get back into the action, although he can't respawn too fast, of course.
Okay, so you can't actually kill people, as it were. You can just get rid of them back to the spawn point for a while.
There's another one, I say. Indeed, you're quite right there. And another one, my word. You can splat people, and splatting people does give you points, but of course it doesn't help your team to win directly, because you need to actually cover the ground in your own team-coloured ink.
Indeed, so you're not actually claiming a point here, as you say. You've got to cover all of the ground in the worlds you're in, or wherever you are, in your colour, and do it before they do in their colour.
Well, basically you have to clean the most turf, exactly. Now, just a point of note here, I think I'm just going to... oh dear, never mind. Just a point of note here, fellows, is that you can actually, in Splatoon, also dive into your team-coloured ink. Now, this has a number of potential uses. Not only does it give you a point of cover, being able to hide from sight, although not from damage range, in the ink. You can, of course, dodge their notice by diving into the ink. You can also reclaim and refill your ink tank by hiding in there, and potentially get your health back too. So, basically, as long as you've got your own team-coloured ink beneath you, you've always got a point of cover there that you can use to avoid incoming fire.
Most certainly, I see. So, therefore, back to Battlefield, or wherever Call of Duty, whatever we're doing here, I think it's Battlefield.
That's right.
So Nintendo, I mean, I think they've sort of whispered or perhaps suggested that they'd like to see this as perhaps the Nintendo equivalent of these type of games we're watching here.
I certainly think that's a very good point there. Indeed, I believe the devs of Splatoon have previously stated that they do enjoy playing games like Call of Duty, like Far Cry, like Battlefield, etc. and so forth on their consoles, and perhaps their idea was to say, well, you know, let's take this very, very successful concept of the shooting game and make a Nintendo equivalent, a family-friendly version targeted at all ages. And so someone said, right, well, let's just have these sort of inklings and Splatoons splatting each other, you know, so no violence, as it were. And I think also it's the same chaps who made the very family-friendly Animal Crossing series who are behind Splatoon as well.
I see, So we've got teammates here that we're watching now. You'll be fighting on a team here.
Yes.
That's you fighting there, I think, is it not?
Indeed.
Right. Okay,
now, here's two, I say, my word.
Most certainly. So what about over on the Splatoon we just saw, never mind, where we had, I think we saw 4 members in the Splatoon who were going around with the old paint.
Oh,
so
right.
Are they your team members, or how does that work?
You raised a good point there, actually. Of course, in Splatoon, you have a 4-on-4 turf war and also a ranked battle mode. Right. Now, in Battlefield, the scale is much, much larger, with up to 32 players per team. So, as you can see, there are a huge roster of available players on each given team, thus 64 players, I mean, in total. Now, you don't have that same huge scale in Splatoon, but I think the game still somehow manages to be very fun despite that.
Well, certainly, most certainly. It's a very, very colourful game.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. And it seems, as you say, to be fun to play.
Indeed, a good game there. And of course, you can win just as easily as you can in Splatoon, in Battlefield 2, using the same kind of techniques. What you just saw there was actually the engineer class who had a shotgun, which is like the closest equivalent to Splatoon's paint roller.
Right, so they have guns in this one as well as
yes, they do. We are now
things they've got. I see rollers and all sorts of different looking guns.
We now have here footage of, I believe, the sniper rifle of Splatoon. I forget the name now. It's called like the splatter shot or something, I think. I'm not sure. But anyway,
it's good. Look.
It's a sniper rifle, okay. Now, this particular weapon is quite interesting. It works a bit like the sniper rifle in Call of Duty and Battlefield, actually. Yeah. It has a low ammo and very, very poor ability to cover the ground in your ink, but if you get a direct fully charged hit on someone, it's a one-hit kill. It's just like a sniper rifle. But as you can see, I'm having a bit of trouble here aiming it using the Wii U's control pad. There we go. Oh dear, never mind.
You've been splattered into the sea.
I fell off the edge, old chap.
Yes, never mind.
Anyway, fellows, this is of course Splatoon's answer to the sniper rifle. Now, as I said, it's a bit unwieldy at first, but if you can get the aiming right, you have a very powerful support role for taking out enemy Splatoon chaps or inklings at long range.
You do, and I can see it is quite long range. Do you have a zoom ability there where you can zoom in on them?
I didn't see a zoom ability during the demo gameplay here, I must say, although perhaps there will be one in the final game, perhaps an upgrade, etc. and so forth. You may have noticed already straight away that you just can't cover as much ground as fast as you can with the paint roller or the splatter shot. It's very, very slow and unwieldy, so really it's more of an offensive sort of sniping weapon, I suppose.
Well, yes, it's certainly more strategic. So we're seeing here in Splatoon some similarities again between the two, in that you can have different weapons. You've got the roller there, we've just seen, you've got the sniper rifle here, and of course over in Call of Duty, etc., you've got different weapons. You have shotgun,
machine gun,
automatic weapons, you have machine guns and all the rest of it, sniper rifles, etc., so forth.
That's right, and here's some gameplay from Battlefield showing also the sniper rifle in action. A close shot there just now, and again also in the Battlefield series, the sniper also has available to him various sidearms such as C4. You're about to see here, I think. Indeed, there we go. Bit of C4 there in action, blowing vehicles up. You can use handguns, you can use special detecting beacons, and little gadgets basically to help out your team. Where of course you can also do that in Splatoon. We haven't actually mentioned this yet, you may already know, but there's various gadgets, tricks, grenades and things you can use to give yourself an edge in combat in Splatoon 2.
Aha, yes indeed. So it seems to me what we got here is quite a lot of similarities here.
Yes.
But perhaps the biggest difference being is that you don't have the violence and that feel about it in Splatoon. It's rather more family friendly, I think.
Much more so, I'd say. Yes,
it's more sort of fun, and you can have a laugh, perhaps more so than you laugh at your other players in Battlefield. I don't know, but you can have a laugh in here, and it just feels more friendly, and so therefore we've got a lot of similarities between the two games. With the main perhaps differential being that we have here a very friendly sort of happy sort of playing game.
That's right. It's more happy, sort of light-hearted feel. Much more on the sort of for fun side as opposed to a shooting game like Battlefield and Call of Duty, which are very much for the glory, if I'll borrow a Smash Brothers term there. Of course, it also has to be said that Splatoon does indeed cater to more hardcore gamers as well, because you have a rank-up system, you can buy weapons, upgrades, etc. and so forth, and keep an eye on your ranking, I believe.
Most certainly, yes indeed. So it is a little bit sort of Team Fortress.
There's a gadget, look at that, I say. I think that's a very good comparison. It may indeed be much closer in terms of the execution to Team Fortress and perhaps Battlefield, but I do think the overall similarities between this game and the more adult shooting games can't be denied.
No, certainly, no indeed. So there we are. That's a bit of a comparison, isn't it?
Yes, indeed, fellows. Do let us know your thoughts on this. Do you think Splatoon rather is Nintendo's Call of Duty or Battlefield game? Do you think it stacks up to those shooting games, or do you think it's in a league of its own, for better or worse?
Well,
let us know what you think.
Well, yes, let us know. It looks rather fun.
I have to say, I enjoyed playing the game. I'm looking forward to the full release, and I think I'll pick this game up, old chap.
You really?
I think so, yes. I think it just has that sort of fun element about it. I hope it sells well. I can't say how it's going to sell just yet, but I certainly hope it does indeed prove to be a bit of a hit.
Well, yes, indeed. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but certainly some interesting comparisons.
I've been splattered again, by George. Well, there you are, Vales. This has indeed been Game Chap and Birdie bringing our comparison of Nintendo's Splatoon. Now, the question is, did we win this round or not?
Did we or did we not win?
Come on, Catty, show us. Is it the truth or is it a lie? Let's see now, and it's a win! There you are! Thank you, Scotty, for joining us, Vales. We look forward to seeing you once more in the next exciting outing, I say. Until then.